I know, we're going to be trying something new. And this might also be the most advanced video I've ever made because I have not one, but two, even three cameras. That's right, I have three cameras, and I even have my audio recording on my usual Galaxy S4. So we have a lot going on here, and this is going to be very annoying to edit, so you guys better watch this video. If you're wondering what this webcam thing is, this is a 27-inch 2009 iMac that I got for free, and I figured, yeah, I need a computer in the garage, in the shop, so why not put the iMac here, because I don't really care about it, which is why I got these accessories, because I really don't care about these, especially this sucks. The mouse, I'm still holding out on the mouse. I don't know if I really like it yet or not. It's also very windy today, so you guys get to experience the garage door rattling and the water heater exhaust rattling because, well, that's what I get to experience every time I'm in the garage, and it's windy every single day here because it's the desert and you can't escape it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the nice ASMR background noise. These are DualShock 4s. I think that's pretty obvious. I think even people that aren't really gamers probably know that these are at least PlayStation controllers. And in my opinion, these are some of the best controllers ever made. In just my opinion, I have messed around with the PS5 controller, some other controllers, but I don't know, just something about this design is really, it just sits just right with me. Just the D-pad and everything, the analog sticks, I really love this controller. Problem is, these controllers actually suck. I know, they're great controllers until they stop working. And there's two main reasons why these controllers stop working. I mean, eventually the batteries in these are all gonna die. That's kind of the nature of any rechargeable battery. But the main issues are the analog sticks and the USB ports. So what we're gonna be doing today is with these two DualShock 4s that I got for free because, well, they're broken. At least the analog sticks are very badly drifting. I actually got some more of these, but we're just gonna be doing two today for just to start with. But we're basically going to be building the ultimate ideal, in my opinion, PS4 controller, and it's really not going to change the experience of the controller all that much. It's just going to make it a lot more reliable, and well, actually it'll probably make the analog stick experience better, because one, it's not going to drift anymore, two, it's probably going to be more precise, and you'll see why in just a second. Now, starting with the USB port situation, the DualShock 4 uses micro USB, also known as the Devil's Connector. And getting a solid connection out of these is pretty difficult at times, especially like this controller, which is on the old side. I think the USB connector is pretty loose on this one. They both still charge, but yeah, I would like to upgrade that because thankfully people have developed USB-C upgrades for these. Now there are a bunch of like Chinese knockoff versions of this that you can find on Amazon for a little bit cheaper, but I recommend going to the official store for these, which is by a guy named Motorious. I think that's how you say that. He's Norwegian. These are basically just little adapter boards that go in place of the original charging board, because thankfully Sony, when they designed these controllers, they actually made the USB port modular. So basically we just have to cut a little bit of plastic, plop this in instead, and we have a well, we have USB-C, which is a far better connector. And despite, you know, being the original ones, they're actually not that much more expensive than the Chinese clone ones. These are like 10 bucks each. There's $5 shipping, but you can buy like a bunch of these on the same, you know, shipping. So if you're doing a bunch of controllers, that's the way to go. Just buy all of them at the same time. And I've read some reviews on the clone ones that they actually tend to like melt. The ribbon cables they supply for those are really bad quality, or there's just some issues with the actual board design or something like that. And the shipping time for these actually wasn't that bad either. They only took about 2 weeks to get here. And the other issue is the analog sticks. Now, it's not that the analog sticks like physically break, like this part doesn't break. I mean, if you used these really heavily for like a decade or something, yeah, the tension would probably get pretty loose over time. But the problem with most modern controllers are they kind of cheap out, and the potentiometers that they use on the analog sticks wear out really quickly these days. And also, like, back in the day on, like, the PS3 controllers and stuff, whenever you turned on the controller, as far as I know, this is just what I've heard, it would actually calibrate the sticks when the controller powered on for the first time. It would kind of alleviate the issue of there being any sort of drifting. This is a industry-wide issue that is plaguing gaming right now. Pretty much every modern controller suffers from drifting after a certain period of time because the materials that they're using just are not holding up to the stresses of gaming. Now, the PS4 controller is a little bit better. I think whatever they were using on these holds up a little bit better than like the DualSense. The DualSense is pretty bad. Of course, the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons are horrendous with drifting. And I think even some of the Xbox controllers suffer with it too. There's a lot better videos on this as well that you can go and look up. And apparently, the same guy who did the USB mod board, he also developed a different Hall effect analog stick design kind of modification you can do. We're not going to do that. We're going to go for a more all-in-one simple solution because I'm lazy. These are full-on analog stick replacements by a company called GillyKit, and these do not use the same potentiometer design that basically every controller is using at this point. Yeah, they come with these like extra little like stick cap things, which I'm not going to use these, but I am going to use these replacement ones because those are in much better shape than the ones that are on there, and kind of gives it more of an Xbox style, which I don't mind actually. I think that'll be quite nice on there. But yeah, these are, they use Hall effect. I think it's called TMR or something, which I don't entirely understand what that is, to be honest. All I know is that it's basically, you know, using the Hall effect principle, but but the stick is built in a different way than like the Hall effect modifications that you can do to the stock sticks, because Hall effect requires like some signal conversion, I think, and that's all kind of built into the stick. Now you do have to recalibrate the controller firmware after you install these, and there is a program that you have to plug the controller in via USB to recalibrate it. But that's not that big of an issue. The main hurdle here is just you desoldering the old sticks and soldering these new ones in. These GillyKit ones seem to be the most recommended ones from what I've seen. And they have these for like, I think the Switch Joy-Cons, maybe the Switch Pro Controller, Xbox, PS4, DualSense. Basically every modern controller that has issues, you can do that with. Without going too into what Hall effect exactly is, now that I've talked about it a bunch, basically it uses magnets. There's no physical contact between, you know, like a wiper, I think is what it's called, and a potentiometer, and whatever like surface material it is that registers. Obviously that wears down over time. Magnets, they're just magic, so you know, they don't have to touch anything, and you can measure the electrical current basically via the magnetic field or whatever, and figure out how the analog stick moves. I'm not getting into the specifics of it. There's better explanations of it. Also, this is not a new technology at all. The fact that manufacturers are not putting this in their controllers by default is pretty shameful. In fact, the Dreamcast controller, from my knowledge, actually has Hall effect joysticks. So it's mainly just to drive you to go buy new controllers all the time, which really sucks because controllers are expensive nowadays. So we're gonna go ahead and just take this apart, which I don't think I've ever done on a DualShock 4 before. And we're gonna do the USB port first, since that should be the easiest, because all that's involved with that is just cutting some plastic. So an important thing to note with these is that these are not one size fits all. You need to plug your controller into the controller identifier thing that he has on his website to find out which board you need. There's like, I think 4 or 5 different versions of this. So just make sure you get the right ones. Both of these controllers are the same model, so that's not a big issue. Now, honestly, I don't blame Sony for using micro USB. USB-C actually didn't exist in 2013 when they were developing the PS4. Now, granted, they should have just went with mini USB like they had been using on the PS3 controllers, but whatever. It's not the end of the world. They definitely made this so it feels like you're gonna break it. I think there's tabs under the headphone jack. Yeah, it seems to be. I am going to be damaging the plastic a bit because I'm using a metal screwdriver, but it's not like the plastic on these controllers is exactly in the greatest shape anyways. So it's not a big deal. There we go. Alright, now we just gotta be careful with the ribbon cable here. That's good, and we can put this whole part of the controller aside. We only need the little back part here. And we just pop these plastic bits out. That definitely sounded like I broke something, but I don't see any broken plastic, so I guess that was just how that sounds. Okay, I cracked the plastic on that for sure. That wasn't good. Okay, there we go. Well, I slightly cracked the light diffuser on that, but that shouldn't affect it too badly. Gotta peel this tape off of it. Now we just unscrew the old board. So yeah, this is honestly a pretty easy mod from what I've seen. It doesn't really seem to be that difficult. And you're gonna wanna be very careful with the ribbon cable. And you're gonna want to inspect the cable for any damage. He does sell replacement cables if you need to replace your cable. Now Marius, I'm gonna keep saying his name wrong. He does actually have a video tutorial on how to cut the plastic. So basically you just need some files, which I do have and I need to go grab. I'm not gonna go through the whole video process on camera because you should just follow his video, give him the video credit there. Well, after like 30 minutes of filing, I think I finally managed to get it to sit pretty flat in there. Not the cleanest installation. There's definitely a bit of gap around the port, but I wasn't going for 100% perfection, so I think we can just put it back together and we'll see if it works. All right, moment of truth. Okay, well, it connected to the computer. Oh, there is a light on the controller, so it seems to be getting power at least. Yeah, it's sending data. So it seems to be working. But the port feels a lot better. Yeah, I think it did connect to my PS4. Oh yeah, that's nice and solid. Alright, good. So we got one of them done. So yeah, the USB mod, it's not that hard. The hardest part really is filing away the plastic. That is the most annoying part. And it's the easiest part to screw up cosmetically. So I have no idea how to take this apart any further than this. So I think I can just pop this board out, just unplug this ribbon cable, and it might be all I have to do. Even though I will take it all the way apart, you know, to clean it. I wanted to try the analog stick thing first. There's a bunch of solder points that we got to tackle. Now I'm going to go about this via my standard desoldering approach, which is put fresh solder on each connector and then use this bad boy. This is a sort of fancified version of one of those solder suckers, but it actually heats itself up, and this works a lot better. I've recapped a couple of motherboards using this. Fantastic, I highly recommend it. It's only about 35 or 40 bucks. It's a lot cheaper than a vacuum desoldering station, so definitely grab one if you don't want to invest all the money into a vacuum station. And of course I'm going to be using the superior 6040 lead solder because the lead makes it taste better. Well, the soldering is all done. All my joints look pretty good. I guess we'll find out if they don't work, but I do like that the newer stick caps have metal on the inside so they don't wear down at least this part first and get all rough. The only issue though is that if there's any dents in the plastic, you really feel it. Like there's a little bit of kind of schmutz or I guess plastic damage in here and you can feel it. Where I don't think I could really feel it on the other one, so that's something you gotta be aware of. I imagine though after the metal, you know, wears into it long enough, it probably won't be a big issue. Now it's not going to be calibrated, but I can at least test if the sticks are working, and yes they are. Stick buttons are working, both axes are registering. Right. I gotta do this on my laptop because it doesn't support Firefox apparently, and I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how to use this tool. Wow, this controller was built in 2021. That's a lot newer than I thought it would be. Well, it seems that there's a little bit of not quite getting to the edge all the way on the right stick there. The left stick is good. I don't really know why it's not doing that on the right one. It might be because the controller's not put together, so it's kind of off axis a bit. Oh, now we're working better. Yeah, okay, that was the issue. All right, make sure you actually have the controller snapped all the way together before you do the calibration, otherwise it gets messed up. We got like a 3-ish% error rate still on the right one for the circularity, but honestly I think it's okay. I don't think this is too big of an issue. It's certainly better than it was, that's for sure. And the error rate's probably because it's going out of the circle anyways, up at the top. So it's been a couple days. I've just been, you know, testing the controllers, kind of breaking them in, making sure everything's working good. And so far they're fantastic. I really don't have many complaints at all, to be honest. So I did go ahead and do the black controller off camera because it was the exact same process as the blue controller. There was nothing different. I would say the only thing different on this was that I did the USB-C install a little bit better. It looks just slightly cleaner, not by much, but it does look at least a little bit more professional than, you know, my first attempt. If your existing USB port is already fine, there's not a huge reason to upgrade it. I really see this more as a fix if your USB port is already kind of on the edge of working or is giving you issues. I just did this because I just wanted to, you know, try it out. But it is certainly nice to have the USB ports already modded and installed. And if you're already going in to swap out the sticks, you might as well do the USB port at the same time. I kind of see these as a, you know, a complementary mod. You should really, if you're going to do one, probably just do the other because, you know, it's not like these are a pain to open, but they're not exactly the easiest controllers to work on. Overall, the Type-C mod is just fantastic. I mean, it's just so much easier and more secure than micro USB, especially if you're going to be using your controllers wired on your PC. This is fantastic to do. It makes it so much more secure feeling. I have a lot more confidence in it, you know, not like falling out or just dropping connection if you're in the middle of a game. And the USB mod is pretty affordable, so yeah, you might as well do it if you're already breaking into your controller anyways. As for the stick mod, there's a lot more to talk about, and it's pretty much all positive. The first thing that you'll notice is if you decide to use the stick caps that they give you, as far as I know, you can use the original ones, but you know, the original ones on these controllers were kind of chewed up already. But the ones that come stock on the controller always seem to get really greasy for some reason. I don't know why. They just seem to hold on to like your skin oil more, and it makes it kind of slippery and just kind of nasty to touch after a little while. These are more of the Xbox style, and I haven't really seen that happen quite as much on these style of stick caps because like the top is completely smooth. It doesn't have like this kind of rough porous surface, so I imagine these probably won't hold on to grease quite as much. The other thing is also, and this might be a negative for some people, personally I think it's a bit of a positive, is there's less resistance. Stock sticks definitely have a heavier feel, which if you prefer that, then this is probably not going to be as ideal for you, but I personally think this is great, especially for precision. It's way easier to move the stick just a tiny little bit, you know, especially if you're trying to aim. Now, I despise playing FPSs on a controller, so I can't speak to that. I imagine this is probably a big upgrade for that, but, you know, just camera movement, small, you know, movements and whatnot, overall just feel a lot easier to pull off, especially for racing games. I was playing Gran Turismo Sport on this. The stick experience in general just feels a lot higher quality and just better in basically every way. And considering that I got these on sale for I think only like $15 per pair, that is a very good price considering the controller is going to have way longer longevity now, assuming that, you know, these sticks actually hold up. I guess we'll see. It's way too early to tell, but these sticks have pretty good reviews, and considering that the sticks aren't, you know, rubbing on a physical, you know, potentiometer, the only thing that should wear out in these first is the actual, you know, physical, you know, spring retention mechanism, which usually lasts a pretty long time. It usually outlasts the potentiometer on most controllers, unless, you know, it's a N64 controller. Now, there is two things technically that I have a complaint with. One is sort of during the installation, and the other is an actual operational one. As for the operational one, these sticks have snapback. This is kind of a thing on pretty much every analog stick. If you don't know what snapback is, and this really seems to be more of an issue on this black controller specifically, probably just some weird minor variation in the left stick specifically is where I noticed it, at least. Snapback is when you know, have the stick basically kind of pointed in a direction and you just release it. You don't like follow it back with your thumb. As it snaps back to the center, it can kind of move in the opposite direction. So if you have it pointed up, you let it snap to the middle, it'll briefly flick down for, you know, just the smallest of, you know, milliseconds, basically. Pretty much every game, this will never be an issue. However, sometimes in menu selection, you know, if you're someone who selects menus with the analog stick, which, I mean, I don't, I always use the D-pad, but if you're someone who does that, this is probably where you'll notice it the most. You know, if you're just, you know, snapping through really quick and, you know, you're letting your thumb, you know, go off the thumbstick, it'll kind of, you know, jump all through the selections kind of willy-nilly if you're not careful with it. That's really the only negative part I've found with the snapback. It really doesn't seem to impact actual, you know, gameplay, really, because there's usually enough of a delay in the actual game that it's not even going to register that input normally. And honestly, the only games that I know of that where snapback can be like a real serious issue is stuff like high-level competitive Melee, which you're not going to be playing with one of these anyways. As for the installation issue, I ran into this on the black controller as well as I was doing it the second time. The right stick installed perfectly fine, no issues with it. When I went to install the left stick, I put the controller back together. It looked like the stick was, you know, flat on the board, but the stick would kind of get stuck a little bit on the downward kind of left angle. And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, why is it sticking? I thought maybe the stick cap was defective or something. And I thought, am I just gonna have to like wear the controller down until it eventually, you know, wears enough of the plastic off the stick cap so it doesn't get stuck? I took this thing apart probably like twice just to really try and figure it out. I desoldered the stick entirely once, put it back in, same issue was happening. And then I noticed that the tack switch that, you know, you press down on for like L3 and R3, I noticed that it was just barely kind of bent up at sort of a weird angle. And even though it looked like the stick itself was entirely flat, that was enough to kind of raise the stick up just enough that it would kind of get caught sometimes. So when you're installing this, make absolutely sure that both the tack switch and the stick are completely flat on the PCB. Otherwise, you'll probably run into sort of weird alignment issues that'll honestly pretty ruin the controller feel and experience. I mean, double check that so you don't end up like desoldering things like 3 times just to, you know, get it to work properly. And I don't have anything else to add. These controllers are now, in my opinion, perfectly good to go. These are my ideal controller, in all honesty. There's few controllers that I think I would rather use. You know, I mean, GameCube controller is probably the favorite in my heart, but only for, you know, specific games. For general purpose games, playing, you know, PC games, even playing a lot of games in like emulators and whatnot, I think the DualShock 4 is really an ideal controller for a lot of stuff. And now with mods that should hopefully make them have quite a long life, I think really the only thing that's going to kill these eventually is the batteries dying in them. I don't know. I have 6-axis controllers for the PS3 that came out in like, they're made in like 2007, and they still hold a charge pretty well. So I mean, hopefully these hold up decently enough. Although that annoying light bar is certainly not kind to the batteries, so I guess we'll find out. Thank you guys for watching. I know I don't usually do mod stuff, but I'd like to do a little bit more stuff occasionally, especially regards to like console modding. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos, let me know. And if you don't, well, too bad, because I'm gonna make them occasionally anyways, so you can just deal with that.